Welcome to 30 Days of Awakening, day 15, with me and Henry. We'll see how he does today. We're going to have a great day, right? Yeah. So today I'd like to talk about the thought-emotion loop. What do I mean by that? Have a thought, hits an emotion. The emotion stirs up more thoughts out of it, back and forth, and it creates this loop, this perpetuating experience that we have that really happens when we're unconscious and unaware of our thoughts. Okay, I want to talk about that. Let me give an example of that because I think we understand. You probably understand theoretically what I'm talking about, but let's be really specific. Let's say that I'm driving into the city and somebody cuts me off and whoa, and I kind of move quickly. And I almost am close to a semi, like I can feel the presence, and it's like the semi puts on the horn. Oh, adrenaline goes up. Then from there, I think, oh my God, that was close. Sometimes this is something that can happen. Let me give an example of the thought emotion thing. Close call. I think, oh my God, what happened? What could you imagine if like that? Could you imagine if I actually was a little bit more over in front of the semi? And then the next side, I see the image of being under the car, under the tire or something. Then that image creates a raise in my body. I feel an awareness of like my stomach grabs. The fear now has a home in my body somewhere. And I feel that. And then that thought's like, oh my God. And then down the road, and I start thinking, and then thoughts go of maybe something like this. Oh my God, how is my insurance? Do I have enough life insurance? What would happen? Oh my God, think about this. Could I get out? Where is the nearest hospital? Is Vivian in time? What would happen with Vivian? And how much money would she get? She'd have to lose her dad. Like, you start spinning down the road all of a sudden to your daughter, thinking about how sad she's going to be to lose you. And it's like I can quickly go down the road, and the thought and the emotion, and then you've already catastrophized and created this emotion inside of yourself that in a weird, sick way, you don't want to let go of. It's like once it's got its thing going, it's got a life, it's important, you got something going on. And I want to talk just like, so that's a pretty classic example, and that happens. Let me talk about the solution here first. Let's talk about how to get inside of this here. Why does this happen? How do we start working on, first of all, minimizing the amount of time we spend in these? To completely dissolve these right away, I can't imagine it. Well, I'm not going to put that limiting belief. Dissolve them right away if you can. That would be amazing. I will say it's definitely possible. I know for me, it's been a process, and it's still continuing to be a process. I feel that the solution begins with the gift of awareness of this happening. Okay? And without the awareness of this happening, there you have no chance. Unless somebody wakes you up to it. Somebody says, sorry, Henry. Somebody says, look at your pattern. And you go, oh, and then you wake up to it. Henry's grooming right now. This is his grooming time. So unless someone wakes you up to it, it's going to do its thing until you wake up to it. And sometimes, a lot of times the emotional pain will get you. The fear will start being uncomfortable enough that you'll maybe feel like you have to talk to somebody about it. And this is where it can either be healing for you in this moment of talking to someone else, or it can perpetuate the story. It depends on how you talk about it. So let's say I take my fear and I say to my friend, I call up Bob, hey Bob, man, you wouldn't believe what happened. I was driving. I was really close to the semi, man. It was so close. I was so freaked out, and then I was imagining, like, I couldn't believe it. I was thinking about Vivian. I was thinking about what would happen. I was thinking about all, and I go in the story, and then he starts telling his story about that. Like, oh man, I've been there too. And now it's on our minds. Let's say I talk to another friend, and it's still on my mind, so I think I'm getting it out. Really, what I'm doing is I'm creating not only story for me, but for them. And they're perpetuating, we're perpetuating, we're generating a whole bunch of story for the universe, probably making it much more dangerous to be on the roads, just because of that energy that we're perpetuating, So talking about it with someone who shines light on it for you and with you, and says, let's look at what that's coming from. And then you're able to make peace of it, make peace with it, and move on. Those are the places where the talking about it can be helpful. Acknowledge it, look at it, what's underneath it, anything I can learn, anything to see here. Okay, I'll let the universe teach me, and move on. All right? So that's easier said than done. I want to get a little more specific about the hows of that. But that's the idea, is things come up, we look at them, isn't that interesting? Do I want to keep telling this story for the next 2.5 hours in my mind or not? We have that choice. Absolutely. So, how do we do it? Well, number one, by daily meditating, that's like, I would say that like a broken record. Daily meditating puts us on track with being aware of our thoughts automatically with that, because that's a practice of being present to our thoughts. So if we meditate, we're more likely to wake up throughout the day, period. If we set way stations of meditating, man, if you break it up 15 minutes morning, 15 minutes afternoon, 15 minutes evening or more, I usually do a little more if I can. And I don't always do it in an organized way too. Sometimes I'll meditate, I'm standing up, and I'm just standing in the kitchen, I just ate lunch, I have a cup of coffee in my hand. And I'll take 5 minutes and I'll just settle in right there, standing there, like, ooh, like that can be, you can check in like that too. But that's one way to start setting yourself up to catch yourself in the thought, emotion, thought pattern that we have. And so what happens when, let's say now, we've been practicing our presence, we're starting to become more and more aware throughout the day as it happens with awakening, and we get to a place where we catch ourselves in a pattern. Let me just say a real quick side thing. Sometimes I have the experience where I'll catch myself in a pattern, and I'll think about some friends that I get to talk to and that I share this kind of relationship with to speak about these things. I'll like, I can't wait I got a new goodie that popped up here. Like, it's like I'll see the thing, even with the emotion, and as a new thing to look at, a new thing to discover. Because always on the other side of stuff that comes up, there's something better. Like, there's a better state of being for you, for me. So when I do feel these disturbances come up, I can almost tell, ooh, I got some good to dissolve. And I know it's not an all the time thing, but I do have that experience more now than I ever have, and I can't believe it. Yeah. So, but not all the time. Certainly not all the time. Yeah. So if you have the gift of waking up and becoming present to the emotion and the thought, the emotion and the thought thing happening, like your heart's racing, you're like thinking, you're like, oh my gosh, and like if you could just take a second and let the thoughts go, just like, brah, like they're just, let them go so you can see what they are. Just sit with them. Feel the emotion fully. Feel it in your body. Don't fight it. Don't hide from it. Just look. Sit with the emotion. And you may experience at first when you start sitting to look at the emotion that all of a sudden it shuts, like the thoughts go, it's like, and it doesn't want to talk anymore. That can happen, and when you're really, and eventually that's the way that it dissolves. But usually if you're settling into your meditation, the story will be pretty strong, and you'll be able to catch several sentences of it, like, oh my God, I wouldn't believe that was so close. I can't believe that close. Holy cow, I can't believe the car. What's going to happen if that ever happened to me? If I ever got in an accident like that, that would be the most horrible thing in the world. Like, you can catch some of those thoughts somewhere. You'll be able to likely grab a few, and then maybe your mind goes and it stops, because that's the interesting thing about the ego and the thought emotion loop, is that when you really deepen into it and make peace with it, your emotions and your thoughts they don't perpetuate well. They don't live. They like to live. They each have their own lives. They like to live inside of you. And the only way thoughts and emotions get to live, the only way your ego gets to live, is if it's perpetuated. And it's perpetuated when it gets to have one of those emotional loop things. And when it gets to create experience over and over, you know. So, when we catch ourselves in one of those emotional loop patterns, first of all, the miracle is when we see it, if we get to wake up in the middle of one, we've already healed more than we can imagine. Not just for us, but for everybody, you know. I will talk about that more later. As I allow all my real crazy to come out. But anyway, deepening into this emotion, deepening in, look at the story. Look at all the story and allow the emotion to be there first. Once you see a pretty clear idea about what the story is, and it seems to be repeating itself, you're having the same thought with maybe a little different package, or it really feels, maybe it's the same exact thought. Oh my God, I can't believe that was close. Close call. Oh my God, I can't believe that was a close call. Okay? You have the ability to not think that anymore. Okay? We don't have to perpetuate these thoughts. All right? It may not be as easy as, though, just saying, okay, I'm not going to think that. Because that kind of empowers it a bit. What we can do is there are a couple ways I like to work with thoughts coming out of emotions once I see that they're once I've seen the show, once I've seen the story. First thing, looking at the thought side of it. There are two sides of it. There are two ways to go with it. It depends on what I'm doing. One of them, if I'm looking to just kind of open up to the stillness and just go to the void and just go to the emptiness of my head, then what I will do in that case is I'll just sit with the thoughts, and every time I feel a thought come up that I don't want to say again in my head and again, oh, but man, I can't believe that was a close call. I can't believe that was I just snip it like a ribbon just coming out of me. Foop. And then it comes out again. Oh, but you almost really did almost hit that person. But what? And eventually, if you just do that for a little bit, then you're set with the emotion, and you can still feel the emotion inside of your awareness. And without the story, the emotion has nothing. It literally, like, I've had some times where I felt like it just went like it was like, where did it go? It's kind of like a phantom. It just goes like, whoosh. It's like, oh, nards, he found us out or something. You know, it's like, it doesn't want your emotions, that fear inside of you. It lives on you not looking at it, and it also lives on you not being okay with it. And when you're okay with it, it's like, get out of here, guys. Let's find another unconscious moment to sort of mess with you in. You know, it's like lurking in the corners, trying to wait till you're not awake and aware to get a root hold and be important enough to exist. Because the ego, these thoughts, you know, they only exist by us empowering them, by perpetuating them, by allowing them to perpetuate inside of us. So that one step of just, you sit with the emotion, you clip them until you just have a big void around the emotion, and you sit with the emotion, just look at it for what it is. It's like a feeling in your body that just kind of, when it doesn't have the story, it doesn't have anything to do. It can't go anywhere until you go unconscious again. Or maybe it will dissolve. Like, I've had some that dissolve and they never came back. So there's that way, and then there's the way of, you know, instead of clipping the thought, just guiding your mind somewhere else. But allowing that it's going to come in sometimes, like, you know, I mean, maybe sometimes it's an activity. You know, maybe it's gardening, and you like, or the way the soil feels on your hands, and you're going outside, and you're going to meditate on your garden for an hour, and you're just feeling the earth. You're just doing this. You're moving the plants, and you feel the thoughts come in your head, but you just turn your awareness to the dirt. and the way it feels. And the thoughts come in, and you just let them go. You just, yep, I see you, thought, but I'm thinking, I'm putting my awareness here now, and the thought comes in. You just keep turning to the earth, or turning to your breath. If you feel like the thoughts are persisting through you being able to feel what you're doing, then turn it to the breath too. Put your awareness on everything other than thought. And when that thought comes in, just turn your mind to something else. Just turn it. Provided these are thoughts that when you see them come in, that they're the repetitive looping ones. Make note of thoughts that may have a new emotional thing, because there might be something, or have a real different take. Because sometimes that might have another clue about something you missed, some fear you're holding on to that you're not seeing, because as we start to see, like the heads of the Hydra, we start chopping them off, they start all kind of running back to bigger macro fears that kind of sit inside of us. And just by continually, being okay with whatever comes up, looking at it and not spinning it. You don't have to talk to 10 people about your story. Like, you won't believe what happened. You won't believe what happened. You don't believe what happened. Like, that amount, that's perpetuating it. I used to think that was part of my process. And now for me, it's usually, I'll look at it myself, depending on the intensity of the emotion, that's when I may call in backup and say, hey, I got something really or something that has been telling stories and then comes back again, tells stories. Then I will, I'll call in someone else to take a look at it with me. Someone else that I feel connected with in that way, to talk with me about it. So, anyway, I hope that helps, and it helps me. So I know, well, it does help, and it helped me. So I'm not going to say I hope it helps. Maybe it'll help you too. Yeah. So just to recap, thought leads to emotion. Fear. We're looking at dissolving fear. Thought, thought, emotion. Emotion creates more thought. Thought creates more emotion. We're looking at how do we dissolve that relationship. One way is by being present, listening to the thoughts first. Once they start looping, stopping them and just sitting with the emotion dissolves. The other way is to just guide your mind through some other forms of meditation until those thoughts are replaced with the thoughts about whatever you're doing. Okay? So I hope that helped. I said I hope that helped again. That's like my closing. See, that's like my end line. But see, I'm present too. You start hearing everything. So anyway, have a great day. Bye. Say bye.